Oh, I'm spilling stuff. Lordy, lordy. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Dudeist Journey podcast. I'm your host, the Reverend Phillip K. And I'll be with you here today, taking on a little sermon here today. Smoking my home-rolled hemp cigarettes. I got these banana-flavored papers. They don't taste like banana, but they say they do. I don't know if I should sue for false advertisement or what. Anyway, folks, I wanted to let you know that Dudeism is not a religion. It's a philosophy. That philosophy is take it easy. We are trying to get religious status here, for that tax deduction. But we are the slowest growing religion in human history. So, we're taking it down. So why don't you join me for a smoke and a drink as we go along tonight. As today I talk about life's purpose. Don't smoke, kids. Yeah. Well, I hope you all had a fun Father's Day. I know that was a holiday that was recently up. But I will admit that there is a bit of a discrepancy between Father and Mother's Day. Like Mother gets all kinds of gifts and does whatever she wants. But Dad, I notice as a father, I constantly am doing what my kids want to do. We went and saw the new Elemental Pixar Disney movie, and I'm like, this wasn't for me. What I wanted to see, and I got to see it with my buddies a couple days earlier, was the new Batman movie. I know they're calling it The Flash, but I'm calling it the new Batman movie because we're seeing Michael Keaton in the Batsuit again. And buddy, I've waited 30 years for that. Oh, Jesus. It's funny, but I didn't give two shits about The Flash. I went there to see Batman. So let me tell you what's been happening with me. For those of you who don't know, this is the first time listening. I started this podcast a few years ago when I started preaching at my house after my little brother died from an overdose in 2020. And just recently, I lost my wife of 22 years to cancer. And so when you go through these types of events, you start to kind of wonder about things like, why am I here? What's the reason? What's the purpose? Am I meant for something bigger, kind of a thing? And it's something we all wonder. I'll tell you one thing, though, just on a personal note. One thing that I know that I am destined, and my purpose in life, is to avoid the Apple Store at all costs, okay? Look, Apple makes fine products. I'm never saying they do. I think they're a little overpriced, but they make fine products. The one thing I cannot stand about Apple is their fucking stores. They are some of the worst, most pretentious, egotistical, narcissistic assholes on the fucking planet. I mean, is it on the application? Are you an asshole to other people? Because that seems to be a qualification to get a job there. So let me tell you what happened to me. So I need a charger, and I have to redo all of the accounts that my wife and I shared. A lot of them were under her name, so I'm like, okay, so I'm having to redo like a family plan because she was the organizer for the family plan, and now it's got to be me. How do we switch this? What do we do? All that shit. So I go in there, I get the charger, and I'm looking for a register or a counter, and it's not there. It's just these tables with stuff on them, iPads and shit. So I'm like, okay. So I walk up to a guy and I say, "Hi, where can I pay for this?" And he says, "Hi, how are you?" And I says, "Oh, hey, can you tell me where to pay for this?" And he looks at me again and forcefully he says, "Hi, how are you?" Like I'm a 5-year-old and I need a lesson in manners from a 20-year-old fucking kid in a goddamn Apple store. So my first reaction was, "Oh, you're broken. Oh shit, this guy's on repeat. He needs a hard restart." And I should have just slid down to the woman next to him and talked to her. But that was my first response. My second response was, I want to fucking tear into this kid. How am I doing? How am I fucking doing? I'm fucking doing terrible. That's how I'm fucking doing. My wife died in my arms from cancer 2 weeks before fucking Christmas. That's how I'm fucking doing. I got a 10-year-old that doesn't want to talk and a 4-year-old who keeps begging me to go to heaven to get her mother. That's how I'm fucking doing. I feel like there's a giant spike through my fucking chest and I cry every fucking day. That's how I'm fucking you fucking piece of shit. Look, there's a fucking reason I didn't answer the fucking questions, you fucking asshole. Now, did I say that? No. Okay? All right, I didn't. I didn't say that. All right, I just said, I'm fine. Can you tell me where to pay for this, please, sir? And he's like, you can pay for it through your phone. And then I said, look, I need to talk to tech support. He said, I can help you with that. I tell him what I need. And he goes, oh, well, my condolences for losing your wife. Oh, like you give a fuck. Look, I don't understand what this whole fucking shit is with guest services, but it's really pissing me off. Okay. And a lot of, I mean, I understand this type of stupid shit from a manager who doesn't deal with customers, but to get it from a fucking person who's supposed to deal with customers every day, you don't give a fuck how I'm doing. You don't give a shit. You don't give two fucks. What you gonna come home and help me out? You gonna fix my car and cook my steak, huh, motherfucker? No. When I leave this store, we will never see each other again, and you will not give two shits to ever see me again. So why the fuck press the question of how I'm doing? Because I don't think this fucker was prepared to hear a grown man scream and cry at the same time. I couldn't just fuck it, but I'm just like, that's the Apple Store. This is the shit I deal with at the Apple Store. A bunch of fucking egotistical baby bitches who think they're gods when the fact is all they are is selling overpriced computers. I mean, you have to understand, Mac has a big fucking ego. Notice how they say Mac or PC? PC stands for personal computer. Guess what a Mac is? It's a fucking personal computer. It's not special. It's not a diamond. It's not made out of gold rubies and fucking unicorn blood that's going to make your wishes come true. I was trained when I learned graphic design and web design. I was trained on Macs, okay? And they were trying to tell us that Macs were good systems because they built all their internal stuff and da da da, and you have less problems, blah blah blah. I said, okay, no, this does have problems. You don't get the blue screen of death. Instead, you get the spinny fucking rainbow wheel of death. It shuts down just as much as a fucking PC. It has just as many fucking problems, but less programs available. And to top it all off, it'll cost you 3 times more than a fucking PC. It's bullshit. Apple is bullshit. I mean, they make a good iPhone and an iPad. That's about it. Everything else they fucking make, it's basically a laptop on your desktop. It's fucking bullshit. Ugh. The fucking Apple Store, man. Jesus. It's like if there's one place that I could avoid for the rest of my life, it would be Apple stores. I am not sad that Apple stores are closing. Not at all. Because honestly, I'd rather talk to somebody online who has learned about respect and patience than some fucking asshole kid working in a fucking mall. And I can call him a kid now because I'm in my 40s. Everybody under 30 is a fucking kid. If that includes you, sorry, but you are, okay? Trust me. Ugh. So sometimes can't help but wonder about my life's purpose. And then, to top this all off, after I deal with Apple Store asshole bullshit, I'm doing this convention, okay? Now, for some of you that don't know, the word Comic-Con was trademarked by the folks in San Diego who run the San Diego Comic-Con. And given, yeah, they were one of the first big cons, so I understand. But the fact that they copyright it means that nobody else can use it. So instead of going to the Dallas Comic-Con or the Miami Comic-Con or the Seattle Comic-Con, no. It's now the Super Expo Fan Palooza. It's like this whole other fucking name. And one of the names that we had was FanExpo. Now, Dallas, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, the Comic-Con was ran by a company called Official Picks, and they called it the Dallas Comic Convention. They were like, fuck you, San Diego, come sue us. But the problem is that the show got too big. Okay, they used to do at the Irving Convention Center, and there was a lot of indie artists and stuff. It was a great place for an indie artist to start out. But when we got too big, I remember that. I think it was 2014, and it was just we had too many people. I mean, we almost got shut down because there were so many people. So they said, we've got to go to the big Dallas Convention Center, okay? Which is great, but it's way more money, way more expensive, more insurance, everything. So Official Picks was like, we can't afford that. So they ended up selling to Fan Expo. Now, instead of doing 3 conventions a year, which is what Official Picks used to do, now it's just the one big Fan Expo Dallas Comic Con, right? Now, last year I had a table, I brought some comics, I got into a costume, did the whole cosplay thing. And usually, when I do this, when I'm in cosplay, I can bring people to the table and I end up making my money. Did not make any money that year. Last year, or it wasn't last year. Oh, no, yeah, it was. It was fucking last year, 2022. Last year, I went to the convention and I sold 2 comics. Didn't make any fucking money. Lost money. Was a total freaking loss. Now, we had an issue. If you listen to the Fan Expo episode, you'll find out that some big fat lady stole our table and wouldn't give it back. So they said we'd have a free table this year. Well, I signed up for the table, and then I start getting hounded by the accounting department. They start sending me emails and stuff and saying, hey, you need to pay for your fucking table. But it's supposed to be comp. So I'm trying to get a hold of the guy, Alex, who's in charge of the comp, and he's not responding back because he's working at another convention. So I pay for the table, finally get a hold of Alex, said, hey, man, listen, you need to give me a refund because they were hounding me and I didn't want to lose the table. And he's like, oh, you paid? Oh, well, I can't really reverse it. And blah, 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 this bullshit, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding me. You mean to tell me I just paid for this fucking shit? He's like, but we'll get you the best spot we can get you. The best spot. Listen, man, these artist tables are all crammed together. You can go to that convention for all 3 days, walk around that whole thing for all 3 days, and still not see every single table of the artist alley because there's 10 artist alleys and we're all crammed together. And then we've got the big name artists in the back, like Sam De La Rosa and shit, and Mark and stuff, and Isaac and all these guys, these big fucking names. So people are going to them; they're not coming to us. So what happened? Dressed in a hot costume for all 3 days, and I sold 2 comics, just like fucking last year. And I'm like, great, I just have to quit. I'm not doing Fan Expo anymore. Fuck this shit. And I'm trying to get into more horror conventions because I sell a horror comic. Okay, I do. I sell a horror comic. It's called Stillborn, the First Zombie. And it's for horror fans. And I got to get it back in the horror world. But while I was there, man, I got to tell you, I really did start to question, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Because I thought it was to tell stories, and I thought comics was a great medium to tell that story. But the problem is that it's time consuming and expensive. Like, I've done the artwork and the writing on it so far, and I put the comic out there and I don't make anything. And then I was like, well, maybe I need to get into previews, which is the big comic book catalog that all the comic shops order from. The problem with that is that previews doesn't even want you to submit your comic if you're not already making sales. Because basically you're just going to be a listing in a phone book. You're going to be a name in a big giant fucking book and no one's going to notice you. The previews, Diamond Distributors is the name of the company. They tell you straight up that, like, look, man, if you're not prepared to spend $2,500 in advertising and you are not prepared to sell between 1 and 3,000 comic books, because that's how much you're going to sell, is between 1 and 3,000. That includes the big names. It ain't the 90s no more, man. We're not selling millions of issues. Superman sold like 2,000 copies last month. So you have to get your head in the game. So I'm looking now that, like, if I want to continue doing comics, I'm just going to have to push digitally and put my money into that market, because print, it's just going to be too much of a fucking headache for too little reward. And that's if the comics sell. So as I'm trying to understand my life's purpose, I dove into this topic, and I think it's an interesting one. And the thing is that, well, I think everybody has a purpose, man. We all got different goals and beliefs, sure, but we all have a purpose. Now, in Dudeism, they would say that the purpose is just to exist, just to be, be you. Be you, do what you do. No major, huge thing. You don't have to become the president or make $1 billion. You just got to be you. Because every person has some purpose along the road. And when we talk about life's purpose, we're talking about experiencing reality by interacting authentically with the environment around us and with others. Now, as I dove into this, now when you go to religion, man, and you want to look at life's purpose, it's the same thing. Your purpose is to serve God, whatever God it is that they believe in. That's your purpose, is to serve them. Okay. Now, for some of us, we're like, tried that, didn't really work out too well. You know, I was an altar boy and got raped by my priest. Don't really think that was my purpose in life. Sorry. It's like some people are like, look, man, it's all in good, but a lot of us, we're not going to be dedicating our lives to a religion or to a deity. We need to find some other kind of purpose. And if you look at the majority of people today, if you ask them what they want to really do, it'll be, well, I want to make clothes, or I want to make movies, or music, or books, or whatever it is. Me, I want to tell stories. So it's books and comics for me. But as I've gone through this, I tried looking at, let's look a little bit at like psychology. Like, what would psychology and sociology say about life's purpose? And they would talk about a few things. One of the things they talk about is coherence, which is everybody has a reason, and that things all come together in one way or another. This coherence of like, somehow it's all going to come together. There are no coincidences. All things happen for a reason. That's one way to think. And some people are like, I don't know. Like in the case of getting raped by your priest, don't really think that was, that was a reason, that happened for a reason. But it's to say more like everybody has a reason to be on this earth. Everyone has a reason to exist. Everyone has a purpose. Okay. Which leads us to significance in life. The significance is basically saying that your life matters. I know you might not think it. You might think, well, hey, all I do is, grill the chicken at fucking Olive Garden. Like, does that really matter? Yeah, it fucking does, because we need someone to grill that fucking chicken. And by God, my friend, you're the one doing it, and you're doing a great job. I hope you get that bonus. So, one of the things that some people will think about when we come to life's purpose is like, you have to kind of ask this question of yourself: what do you want? What are you seeking? Now, I'm sure you've probably heard plenty of self-help books out there that are going to give you all kinds of advice on answers to this. Find it and go for it and do it and use the secret. And it's like, look, buddy, The Secret was released, I don't even know how many years ago, and I still don't see a whole ton of billionaires coming up in the world. So I think that the one thing that I know some people have to accept is that, look, man, you've got to accept your limitations. You've got to accept your surroundings. Okay, we're not all going to be movie gods and rock stars, and we're slowly learning that fact, and we're very, very pissed off. So, so says the dude from Fight Club. Now, when we're doing this, we're trying to seek out our purpose. There's a few things that we do have to listen to, that we do have to do. You got to kind of get a plan going. Okay. So the first thing you're going to do is listen to your intuition. What is it, the thing that you love to do? What is that passion? Because George Lucas always says it. He says, follow your passion. If you start something at 7 a.m. and then you get hungry and you go downstairs and you find out it's 7 p.m., you found your passion. You found what you can do. You found your love. That's your passion. But once again, passion ain't always going to pay the bills. So what you do is you go into this next step after listening to your intuition, is to create your idea reality. And that's going to take work. That's going to take sacrifice. That's going to take you working a job you probably fucking hate. Because that's what you have to do. Stuff doesn't get plopped in our lap. We weren't all born with trust funds and rich parents. Lord, no, I wasn't. So you have to work in order to help create that reality, in order to help pursue the dream. You've got to do something that's going to help pay the way in order for you to get that. Like I said, you can use The Secret all day long, but because The Secret, they do this whole ask, believe, receive thing, which is a fine, step, but there's a step in there that's forgotten, which is ask, believe, work your ass off, and then receive. Because if you want to make a dream happen, buddy, well, there's a reason they call it a dream. You got to get a lot of fucking work to do. Okay. Now, there are some that say that what's calling to you, this thing that you want to do, whether it's painting or writing or acting or whatever it is, or, owning a Taco Bell, whatever there is, that thing is calling to you. And some will say it's for a reason, that there's a deeper reason there why that thing is. And we don't all want the same things. We don't all want the same dreams. We don't all have the same purposes. And so when you find out your unique thing, you have to understand that this is something that is unique to you and only you. Now, once again, sure, there's plenty of folks that out there that can do it, but there's no one that can do it like you. Like for me, I got a digital band. Me and my friends from high school, we got the band back together, man. But we're being realistic. We're not like, oh, we got to go on tour and we got to get merch and we got to, sleep in a van. No, we're not doing that shit. It's all digital now. People are making decent livings just selling music from their fucking homes and making videos from their homes. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it cheap as possible because when it comes to something, you got to count the costs. You got to do the numbers. You got to do the facts. This is one thing that's kept me out of comics and printing my own and going to diamond distributors and trying to get it in the shops. I'm just like, it's going to cost a ton of money. And in the end, I'm probably not going to make as much through all the headache. Because the one thing that sucks about independent comics is that most folks, they won't fucking pay till the comic sells. And if you go with previews, hey, they'll handle that. They'll make sure you get paid first. But if there's any kind of complaints or problems, it's coming back to you. And it's all coming out of your pocket. It's a son of a bitch. Now, there's a few things I think that have helped me in my purpose. And one of those things is like, I keep finding myself doing it, like this podcast. Okay. I honestly think this podcast is part of my purpose in this life, to talk to folks, to talk about Dudeism, to realize that the new religion is no religion and that people are changing, man. We don't like going to the temple or church or synagogue or whatever it is and being made to feel guilty because we didn't participate in the bake sale or constantly getting that fucking donation plate shoved in our face or dealing with folks that are gonna, give a shit because we didn't wear the right clothes. There's this hypocrisy that happens in there and this judgment that automatically happens, and everyone has this ideal for what it's supposed to be. And I find a lot of it will often get mixed up. People don't feel welcome there. I mean, honestly, I hate to say this, but quite a few religions out there, they act like cults. They don't act like a religion. They don't act like this place of, bring me your tired, hungry, and poor, and we will help you. No. It's more like, hey, do the fuck what we say and believe the way we believe and dress the way we dress and act the way we act, and then we might give you something. Fuck you. It's like, it's not really how this whole freaking thing should work, And so, because of that, I find myself coming here because I look at all religions, and because I was a deep believer. I went to church twice a week, man. I was deep in the faith, okay, 100% believing. But when I found that as I got older, I started asking questions that I wasn't getting answers to. I was, I was typically told to shut up because people didn't want to be challenged. They didn't want to actually have to explain why they believe what they believe. They're just believing this way because their parents believe that way. And if they didn't believe that way, their parents would beat the shit out of them. And that's not really a great way to get followers. Just saying. I don't know if you guys saw that documentary of the Shiny Happy People about the Duggar family and the religious cult they got a part of. They were literally following the teachings of a man on how to raise children and be a good husband and a good wife and have a good family. They were taking these teachings from a guy who had no wife, never been married, had no children whatsoever, had no idea what it was like to have to get up 6-7 times a night and feed a crying baby. Has no fucking idea. But it turned out the guy was a pedophile. So that was the whole reason he started the religion, was because he wanted to fuck people's children. So he had to get people to trust him. So he came up with this whole guise of Jesus and this whole way of living through the Bible and by the Bible and da da da. Absolutely horrible. And what's sad is that more and more of these stories are coming out, and we're finding more and more of these stories about basically, and I hate to say this as a white guy, it sucks, but there's a lot of white males raping people. They're raping women, they're raping children, and they're going into these religious organizations so that way people will think that you can be safe with me and you can leave your kids with me, and then they hurt the kids and they hurt the women. And it's just like, to me, what needs to happen in that whole area is that the women need to take over and they need to clean house. I'm just saying, women get shit done. So just that's where that's my life's purpose there is basically to kind of help people who are like, you know what, I'm not digging the church thing. I'm not agreeing with everything I'm hearing over here. It's gotten crazy. It's gotten political, whatever the case is. And what I do is I try to show that, you know, look, a lot of religions are the same. It's just a different God or a different prophet. I think as a there's this comedian Eddie Griffin, and he says some people say Jesus is the messenger, and some people say Muhammad is the messenger. I don't give a fuck who the messenger is. Did you get the message? And the message I find throughout many religions, they call it the golden rule, which is to do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Or as some religions take it a step further and say, treat others better than you would treat yourself, which is a hard thing to do, especially if that person, you know, puts Miracle Whip on their sandwiches. So there's, but as we're going through this whole thing about life's purpose, I've come to realize that, you know, we don't need everyone to be an influencer or a movie star or whatever the case is. All of us have our own part to play. And depending on where you were born and who your parents are, that's the job that's kind of to pick. I know it's old fashioned. They're like, hey, you have to do what your dad does. But I just find that if, like, for instance, if you have a family where the parents are blue collar workers, there's a big chance that the kids are going to be blue collar workers too, because that's what they know. And the parents can only teach them what they know. Like my parents, they couldn't teach me how to get rich. They weren't rich. They didn't know how. So I've had to learn a lot of things on my own. And so since I've been learning and failing, hey, I've had failures, man. The road to success is paved with failure. Now I'm having successes, but I had to have a lot of failures. I had to find out the hard way. A lot of times that things aren't what they seem, things aren't going to go the way that they're going to go, and a lot of shit isn't going to turn out the way you wanted it to. But as I've come to understand life's purpose is that every person that's doing whatever job they're doing, it's that's the job we need you to do. You know, I think there was it Mr. Rogers, right? Mr. Rogers said something like, "If you could only sense how important you are to the lives of those you meet, how important you can be to the people you may never even dream of." It's like you're going to have this influence on people, and folks are going to talk about you, hopefully in a good way. But when they do, it's going to be one of those things that can even help people and bring folks together. I know it's funny that some folks will get together. They know me, but they don't know each other. And then they'll talk and they'll, oh, you know Phil? Oh, yeah, you know Phil? Oh, God, that crazy fucker. Right. And all of a sudden there's that connection there. It's kind of funny. It's actually happened a few times. Um, but what we do has an effect on those around us, and it influences those around us, and it inspires those around us. I mean, you might think that you getting up and going to work every day, you know, probably isn't that big of a deal and no one cares, but you're a fucking inspiration. You're an inspiration to your family, to your loved ones, even to those you work with, that you're out there and that you're doing it. Just let me give you an example, okay? When my little brother passed away from the overdose, um, my dad and I got to talking again. And my dad and I hadn't talked in years. We quit talking to each other, a couple of grumpy old men, you know, but when my brother died, we realized, holy fuck, we're being really petty here. Okay? This shit happened in the past. Let it go. All we got is now and the future. So as we were talking, we were kind of trying to figure out what my brother was missing for his life. Why isn't that he couldn't get sober? And honestly, at the end of the day, it was he got hurt at work. They put him on oxycodone, and that was it. Okay, when he got on or oxycontin or what the fuck ever, once he got on that shit, that was it. It was over for him because he had gotten to a couple of rehab centers. Um, And so he had gotten sober more than once, and he still ended up back on drugs. You know, it was heroin, and then it was the pills, and then it was heroin, and then it was fentanyl. And fentanyl is what killed him. So I told my dad, I was like, I think because he never found a good woman. Because I tell you something right now, you cannot beat the love of a good woman. Okay, I don't care who you are, where you are, what you do. You got a good woman, buddy. You hold on to her like she's gold. Okay, because that woman will lead you to a better, more enriching life than any bag of money could ever bring you. Okay. Always, if you got, oh man, get you a good woman. My wife was a good woman. She was smart with money. And hey, she had her flaws. Don't get me wrong. We all do. But she was a good woman. She was true. She was faithful. She was loving. She was a good mom. She was a hard fucking worker. She was a fucking inspiration. Okay. And so I feel that the lack of love in my brother's life was possibly one of the big contributors to why he never got sober. My father, on the other hand, said, I think it's because he never found his purpose. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, okay, look, kid, I was a truck driver. Okay. I was a truck driver for 40 years. All right. Teamster, union man, last of my kind, dying breed over here because the companies have just busted up the fucking unions. He said, I drove a truck for 40 years and I never had one accident. Now, when you read the news today about some of these new truck drivers they got on the road, they're having big accidents. They're driving down roads they shouldn't. They're going too fast. They're getting in accidents and they're killing people. But like you said, when I was on the road, there was no accident. So I think that was my purpose, that God knew that whenever I was on the road, people were going to get home safe. Because let's face it, man, we need trucks. Okay. If trucks stop, America stops, man. Everything from the food in your mouth to the shoes on your feet at one point has been on a truck. Everything at some point is on a truck. Everything. We need truck drivers. And that's what my dad did. Might not be the glamorous job, might not be the big job, might not be the big, sexy, famous career that everybody fucking wants. But hey, man, it put food on the fucking table and kept a roof over our heads. Did he love the job? No, but he was good at it. And that's why he thinks that was his purpose. And I'm like, right fucking on, man. Maybe that is. And so you got to realize you got to find yours, man. And for some of us, it's different things. But if you're working a job and you've been working that job a while and you're good at that job and hey, you even like it, you found your purpose. Not all of us, we need electricians. We need construction workers. We need truck drivers. And we even need people who do silly podcasts about Dudeism. Okay? We all got a purpose. We all got a reason. Find yours, and I hope you do. And here's a little quote. I think that kind of helps sums things up. It's from The Wizard of Oz. So after Dorothy has arrived home from her adventures in Oz, she says this, and I quote here: "If I ever go looking for my heart's desire again, I won't look any further than my own backyard, because if it isn't there, I never really lost it to begin with." Well, amen to that, sister. Right now, hey man, I'm a single parent now, so my purpose is my kids. As much as it is to tell stories or do this little podcast here, it's to be a good dad. And the thing is that I'm gonna bust my ass every day at it to be the best dad that I can be. But at the end of the day, the only people that can judge whether or not I was a good father will be my kids. And if you know anything about parenting, you never stop being a parent. It's not like when your kids grow up and they're out of the way that suddenly you stop worrying about them. No, you always worry about them, even when they're doing good. So, with this, why don't we go ahead? We'll do 5 minutes of silence. And I want you to just think about this right now. What's your purpose? What's your reason? Have you found it? Have you found your passion? Do you know what you want to do with this life? Think about it for the next 5 minutes, and we'll start that now. All right. Sorry. A little bit over there, but that was 5 minutes. And I hope that you took that time to reflect. Think about your life's purpose. Think about what you're doing in this life. Hope, who knows, maybe you're working that shitty job, working towards the true meaning of what you'd love to do. And I hope it helps, man. I hope that just hearing a little bit every day and or whenever I can and just keep going forward. Oftentimes it's the best thing that you can do. And like I said, man, you don't have to have some big plan or some big purpose. Just be. Honestly, if you're just being a cool dude, then man, you're already living a bigger purpose than most folks out there. I tell you, man, some people they get all kinds of angry and they get all their dander up listening to some bullshit like politics. We all admit that politicians lie. So why do we vote for them? Why are we arguing about who's the better liar or who's telling the truth? It's like, seriously? Your purpose is to be you. Be the best you can, and hopefully be a peaceful one. Because Lord knows we got enough assholes in this fucking life. Shit. And I should know I've, you know, I've had to help them when I worked at Walmart. I gotta tell you, man, some of the folks, I should do one fucking podcast where it was just all Walmart stories because I worked at that place for 2 years and holy shit. Yes, I worked for Walmart on a Black Friday. Black Friday, motherfucker. Okay? You think your job sucks. Boy, wait till you hear about that. But anyway, man, I hope you get out there. I hope you be cool. And I hope you remember that while you're doing all this stuff, man, remember to take it easy. Because when you take it easy, the dude abides. Thanks for stepping in. Sorry there's no video. I'm cutting back on the video. The file's just too big, too long to upload. So, gonna be sticking with the audio for a while because no one really watches the YouTube videos. And I don't know anyone that's watching them on Anchor.fm. Oh, sorry, Spotify for podcasters, whatever the fuck they're calling it now. Anyway, man, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you next time, man. Later.